Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Yes, indeed, it is the Flagstick Podcast, and it's brought to you once again this week by Golf PEI, Golf Prince Edward Island, a premier golf destination, boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in our great country, with over 400 fairways closer than you imagine. Top-tier accommodations, exquisite culinary experiences. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Book those golf vacations and tee times at golfpei.ca. Now, just get this out of the way really quick. If you're not following us across social media networks such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, do so. Make sure you're subscribing to this podcast on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And we really do encourage subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell and make sure you never miss a single episode of this podcast. We continue to add unique content, little video snippets and stuff to the YouTube channel, and contests are coming, so subscribe. We're going to be doing that all season long. Scotty Mac.
Welcome back.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I hate to say there's been so many things go on. I mean, the list of what has transpired in the last 5 or 6 days is crazy. I know that throughout Eastern Ontario and some other parts of the province as well, and into Quebec too, they were hit pretty hard by this ice storm. The modern era ice storm, I call it. It was very, very different ice storm than the one that was experienced back in '98. I know when we experienced that one, we were out of power for 9 days, 10 days. And we were basically just trying to keep warm at that point, which we were able to do. But this time was different. It was a shorter time out, but my goodness, the timing of the year, the time of the year was the issue, for us at least. And I think for a lot of people, because it's spring season, everything's melting.
Right.
It's a time of the year where those of us that live in rural parts of the province, we're on sump pumps are going like crazy constantly. So if you didn't have a generator, then you had a swimming pool in your basement.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. We did have some neighbors that ran into that problem.
It was such an odd storm too. I mean, we obviously had a little bit of ice, but the little bit of ice that we had was in a short period of time, so we didn't have the issues. So as a result of it, it's really created a lot of diversity within our area where we're at, especially when we're now going to start talking about golf course openings. It is the biggest contrast I've ever seen from north to south. And we'll get into that in here in a little bit or whatever. But it certainly created a difference. And, in looking around as well, good bit of tree damage.
Tell me about it. I'm suffering huge because of the tree we had. And I know we're going to start seeing some pictures at some point or another of some of the golf courses. We're seeing some of that on social media now. But just we have 2 properties here. Our house here, which is like smack dab in the middle of it. We live on Forest Green. So you can imagine our house is smack dab in the middle of a forest. And there's trees all over the place, down all over around us. Nothing that's, causing any major issues for us. Down at our other property, right in the town of Metcalfe, there's like 300-year-old trees in the backyard. And I would say, and the branches that are coming off these trees are the size of most of the trees in some people's yards. One came down, took out the garden shed. One landed on the roof of the house. Fortunately, it hit the gazebo first. And
so this, people, is why we didn't have a podcast last week.
Yeah. And if anybody's wondering where we were, it wasn't because we didn't want to do a podcast. No. I was out with a chainsaw and, clearing trees off of one of our houses in the town of Metcalfe. So I just finished all that up at the beginning of the week, and now I'm feeling it huge, dealing with some very, very sore body parts now that are very painful.
Thankfully, now that's sort of cleaned up and the weather's cleaned up. And obviously, you mentioned Golf PEI off the top. They got their first golf course open down there. Good. I was talking to Sam, and he said Belfast Highlands is open, which of course you're familiar with at least. Got to visit it. Didn't get to
Yeah, I
us to
wish I
play
had
it.
gotten to play that golf course because that was, but at least
Yeah.
I got to see it or parts of
Yes.
it anyway.
Yeah. So they got open down there, and then obviously we are starting to crank
Oh man,
open here, which
isn't
is
it funny
very.
how we open up the course openings calendar, we
Oh
put
my
the
god.
request out there every
Oh my
year,
god.
and say, hey, give us your tentative date, your locked in stone date, your guesstimate as to when you're going to be open. Let's get it in the calendar, and you start propagating this calendar on the website on flagstick.com, and all of a sudden we watch the traffic on the
Yeah.
website like
Go
it's
insane.
insane how much
Yeah.
traffic is on the website right now
Yeah,
compared to
we'll
just a
get to
week
that
ago.
in a minute, I think, before we welcome
Yeah,
our
so yeah, we
front
want
nine
to get into
sponsor.
our yeah, we're starting to get past the small talk portion and get into actually what we want to talk about in the show. So we want to get to the front nine of this podcast. The front nine is sponsored all season long this year by our good friends at Metcalf Golf Club. Natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season is in fact closer than you can think. So don't wait. Start saving on your golf this season. Buy a membership, join a league, purchase some game packs, and be ready to hit the first tee. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop now. Okay.
The
Now we can get in a
calendar.
little more into this. Like, sometimes you need a reminder. I mean,
Oh,
the sponsors
yeah,
are what pay for us to do the show, and that's great.
right.
So we can't forget to mention them. But
No.
thank God somebody's on the ball this morning.
I'm trying. I feel sort of half awake. I'm trying to get my coffee into me, but and it's because of the calendar that I feel this way, because you got to imagine people are getting a hold of me nonstop. Like it's 24/7. And it's not just the golf courses, right? It's the people asking, going, what's open? Is so and so open? Is so and so open? And I'm trying
Yeah.
to keep up with every DM, every messenger, every text, and because you're trying to help people out for sure. But I can tell you, it's like an avalanche, and I think 27 facilities open this week alone.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate the way we've set it up. I can do updates to the calendar instantly, kind of on my phone, which is great. And then it goes up to the website so people can go up there. But I mean, yeah, golf courses are all of a sudden messaging or saying, hey, my range is open, but only my front nine's open. Can you post up this? And as I said, we're getting courses now from afar
Yeah.
that are reaching out as well. So it's fantastic. I mean, we're happy to do it, obviously, but it's crazy the amount of traffic. It's just avalanche. The thing is
Yeah.
smashed
And
with traffic.
it's like a micro burst, right? It's like
It is.
it happens. We say we're going to do it, and then in a month we take it down. Well, we don't
Yeah.
take it down, but we
No,
stop talking about it because by that time
all the
90% of the
courses are
golf
open.
courses are
Yeah.
open,
Yeah.
95% are open, so we don't really deal with it as
And
much
it's
as
tough, and it's tough for the golf courses too, because some of them, they're waiting and waiting and waiting. They don't want to obviously put a date out there that is not for sure. We get some that give us a date range and they're not sure on the date. I have one right now that's telling me April 22nd to 26th. We can't put that on a calendar.
no.
So they'll get a hold of us kind of the night before or when they make the decision, and we'll go from there. Now, on the other side of it, there are golf courses that it's harder to find out that information, and I will tell these golf courses that consumers get really frustrated when they can't find out this information. They
Yeah.
really do. Just did a Twitter survey last week, just asking people what's their first point of contact with golf courses, right? And I gave them the option of website, social media, phone. I can tell you it's 90% is the website. So if you're a golf course, and this is just a piece of advice, a lot
Yeah.
of golf courses do a really good job, but if you're not a golf course that is updating your website with just in time information, maybe you're using it through something embedded with your social media, or at least you're doing it on your social media,
Mm-hmm.
um, providing that type of updates, as opposed to going on a website and finding a menu, our new menu for 2017,
Oh my
or
gosh.
stuff like this. This is where business is happening, and I can tell you from experience and working in the pro shop, I don't want to be answering that phone. I'm too busy to answer that phone. Too many things are going on. You miss customers that way.
Yeah.
So don't expect your customers just to, to pick up the phone.
And I will say this, and this is going to seem like a bit of a shameless plug, and you can work with me on this one if you want, or you can work with someone else. But the one thing that you've noticed and I've noticed, especially during the process of getting the course openings and stuff organized, is visiting some golf courses' websites.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and what we've noticed is what you said is like completely outdated information, no presence on the web at all. What presence is there is so outdated in its design and its infrastructure and its usability that you're hurting yourself in a modern era of where this is where information is received. So if you're one of those golf courses, we're not going to mention who they are, but who you are if you're listening to this podcast, and it eats at you every day because you want to build a better website and have a better presence up there. Maybe you think that is a daunting task. It is extremely expensive to undertake. I'm here to tell you that it's not. I do this. I have built websites. I have built the simplest 6-page websites.
This is one of the aspects of Flagstick. Yeah, people have to realize this is one of the aspects.
Flagstick.com. I built Flagstick.com. The information is propagated from the stuff that Scott writes and Joe has written over these, and I post all the posts and stuff we put up there. But the infrastructure, I built that site. If you need help with this, in a less expensive manner than hiring a big company to do it, and you want a simple, site that integrates your T-sheet and things like that, call me, DM me, text me, whatever you want to do. I'll try to help you out with this to get you past this hump of leaving garbage on the web that's not helping your business. Okay.
And then what ends up happening here is that, first off, that's great advice, because here's the thing. We're golf people. We've been golf people forever. So we know what people are looking for on their website. So, no disrespect to any other marketing companies or things that are out there. They don't know golf. They don't know what consumers are looking for. And the other side of it, here's the thing. You're trying to create an emotional experience for people that they feel happy and pleased. And this is their first point of contact with your service. So the thing is, if they go to look on a website and all of a sudden they have a negative feeling towards you because they have a negative experience, that has created a problem for you long-term. For your golf course. So it's not a matter of just being a bad website. It's a matter of creating a poor emotional experience for your potential consumer.
100%.
So I don't care. I can find out the information, right? I mean, that's the thing. But when I go and I see that, there's not a good user interface, there's not an easy way to contact the golf courses, I feel bad. I feel bad for the courses.
I do too. I really do. And that's why, a couple of clients that I've worked with, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we do have a lot to talk about, but a couple of clients that I've dealt with more recently that have built sites, simple websites. I wanted to make it easy for them and to make the updates and stuff. They're on their own, so that they don't have to call me. Because if you call me to make updates to your website on a regular basis, I have to charge you for that. But if I can use a platform, so rather than use a platform that's a complex platform that only I can work with, I started to work a little bit with GoDaddy and the web builder that they have. Now I've added my expertise of being able to work with graphics and design and things like that to work within GoDaddy templates to build sites. Most recent one we built was for we built one for Celtic Golf Center in Kempville. Andy McWilliams, good friend of the show, built a site for him, built a site for another one of his business called Celtic Golf Tours. There's simplistic ways of doing it using templates that already exist without going into customization. And frankly, you don't need customization. You don't need your website to be so unique to you that nobody else has anything that looks like it. You need a presence with content that is up to date and delivered in a kind of cool, creative looking way with a good interface that you can get through really easy. We call it surfing in the day. We don't really call it surfing that much anymore. But that's
people are not going to be there a long time, right?
No.
So they're going to get the information they need. So they need to be able to find that quickly. And as you said, the easiest website for these people, because you know what, if you're a course operator, you're busy operating your golf course. We get it.
That's your priority.
That's your priority. You're not spending all your time, building a website or whatever.
But that's why people like that's why people like me and this
right.
business
Yeah.
are here. That's why we developed the consulting and design arm of what we do. Yes, Flagstick is a news, content, and golf information, but that's why we built this other part of our business so that we could design logos for people, which we've done for over 20 or 30 golf courses throughout the region, and businesses, websites, whatever. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm promoting ourselves, and I am in a way, but I also want you to take advantage of these things. Don't try to do it in-house with everything. Don't try to trade off green fees for services for everything. Not saying don't do it for some things, but your brand and your image is hugely important. Make sure that you're getting someone that knows the golf business and knows this side of the business to help you with it. Even if you just want advice, I can help you. We can help with that. Like, that's what we're here for. And it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Trust me, I've been doing it a long time. I can do it very inexpensively and very quickly. So anyways, shameless plug out of the way.
Yeah, but just last note on that. Just again, it doesn't have to be complicated. We want it to be easy for you to update and work, because it's like a camera, right? People say that the best camera is the one that you have on hand. That's why people, gravitate to obviously making use of a smartphone. It's very simple to use. So same thing for this. We want it to be easy for you to update, not to sit there and go, oh my God, I gotta put an opening date up on my website. Oh boy, that's a big headache or whatever like that. So just out there for those courses and operations or whatever, just make it simple.
Thought, we'll call it.
Make sure that it's out there and keep sending in your dates.
So we're not there yet, so keep them coming.
No, so instead of like going through the list or whatever, obviously we have a lot of great golf courses that are opening, including some that are partners in some of our events and so forth. Just go to flagstick.com, people. Hit the calendar. We're not listing it. We got it on the front page there, because the other thing is, by the time that people listen to this podcast, even though it's only going to be in a few hours from now, we will have more on there. I literally will get bursts of 4 and 5 sometimes within a period of 20 minutes where they're giving dates or whatever. So just check it out there as far as that opening calendar. And, hopefully, we've got dates and everybody's open soon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Couple of the little tidbits, Scott, before we get into, we want to do some talk about the Masters before we have to take a break. Also in the back nine of this show, you're going to be talking with product manager from Cleveland Golf, Casey Shultz, is going to have a little discussion about their new RTX 6 wedges. So that to look forward to in the back nine. I just wanted to mention that because I should have mentioned it earlier and I did not. That's a 2-week hiatus, brain. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. So what else, really quickly, some kind of newsy type information before we get to talking about the Masters, which I do want to do.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. We had the annual general meeting, spring meetings for the PGA of Canada Ottawa Valley Zone. So that took place. Obviously, we have a partnership with them in the flagstick.com Players Tour. So the schedule is out for that now.
Nice.
And that was a successful meeting, and the Ottawa Valley Golf Association has their AGM this coming Saturday. If you cannot make it physically, it's taking place at Rivermead. There is a virtual option available, so you can get a hold of them that way. I will be tuning in virtually myself.
Okay.
And then quickly, the other one, which I thought I sort of surprised you with this one.
Yeah,
was we for a long time.
I don't mind surprises.
No, this is a good one. Obviously, we're working on different things from a content perspective all the time, trying to be as creative as possible with, we don't have a large team here, but putting together, we're always looking for other things that we can do from a content, and we're still working on some different content partnerships and different things. But for years, we ran an Ask the Experts column. Basically, what happened was, people would, at that point, mail in sometime back in the day, questions about product and so forth. And obviously, I see a lot of these, online, different social media platforms and so forth. And we'll do some stuff there as well. But we're bringing it back, and we're just going to call it Ask Flagstick, hashtag Ask Flagstick. And what we're going to do is going to basically pick a few random questions every now and then, ones that we think will be beneficial to a wider scope of the audience. We'll create probably some columns out of that, post it up on Flagstick. probably do some stuff on social, maybe on YouTube as well. Take care of that. We'll take care of some of those answers in-house. Fortunately, have a little bit of expertise in a lot of different subjects. A little bit. As a PGA professional, retailer, well, obviously been doing, we're in year 27 for Flagstick. So a few things, travel, whatever the case may be. And you know what, if we find the question is interesting and we can't find the answer, we'll reach out to our network. We've got a great network of experts and people that we know, and we'll get some answers there. So Ask Flagstick is back. The former Ask the Experts. Just fire us your questions and we'll work it from there.
Okay, so one last thing you want to just mention about the TSN video? And then we'll move on to the Masters stuff,
which actually works perfectly into the Masters. So if anybody watched the Canadian broadcast of the Masters on TSN, they would have probably seen a documentary, and it was led by James Duthie, and this was something that it's been in the works since last summer. James mentioned it to me first. We were talking about some things at the Canadian Open and talked about the possibility of a documentary on Hayden Underhill and Dayton Price, who were the two survivors of the University of the Southwest crash. And they started doing filming in the fall, did some stuff at Black Bear, at Accra down in Kingston. So obviously down here in Eastern Ontario, did some filming at Whistle Bear with Dayton Price and his coach. I am fortunate that obviously Hayden was a student of mine, or is a student of mine, and they did a great job. I just wanted to shout out, I've obviously mentioned it to James already, but did a great job on the documentary. And I had a lot of people reach out over it, just saying, what a story it is. So if you haven't seen it, you can catch that on, we'll actually post it. There's actually a YouTube link. We'll post it up on flagstick.com so people can catch it there. And thanks to James. Thanks for the inclusion as well. He did a written piece on it. Was able to provide some quotes to that, but did a great job capturing that a year after that horrific accident.
Cool. All right. Well, make sure you check that out. Check out flagstick.com. We'll get something posted up there with a link to the YouTube document or YouTube video story. Okay. Hopefully we have at least 10 minutes or so to discuss this. We want to get into the Masters. Unfortunately, because of everything that was happening last week, we didn't have the opportunity to do a preview show, which I'm pretty sure based on the results, none of the predictions that we would have come true. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing we didn't do a preview show. We would look stupid. But we're going to do a post-Masters discussion. And, this year's Masters had a lot of maybe a little bit more drama surrounding it than some of the others. I mean, there's always something surrounding the Masters because it's the first major of the year. There's always something leading into it, whether it's Tiger's return, whether it's who's number one at this point, can they keep it going? The whole Live Golf, PGA Tour golf thing was kind of and I have to say that this whole Live PGA Tour golf thing is very much a media blown up.
It's just a narrative. It's just a narrative more than anything.
The players really don't see it.
Some media. Yeah.
The players really don't see it the same way that you might see it on social media, or you might see it, played out in some media outlets.
Yeah.
There is some tension between some players, but that tension is not necessarily placed between the Live PGA Tour thing. It's just between the players because of other things.
Agreed.
So, when you look at the end of the day, sure, there was a bunch of Live guys on the top portion of the leaderboard, and you can say, well, look, the Live guys that only play their shortened rounds and no cuts and shotguns, wearing shorts, listening to loud music and not caring, did way better than the PGA Tour guys. It's like,
there's only only really a couple of them that were in there in the top 10 anyways. So.
And at the end of the day, people are making theirs. Oh, Brooks Koepka couldn't close it out. I guess maybe you should play more 4-round events. It's like, that's nothing to do with it. How many Brooks Koepka is a top level world
who's healthy
golfer.
Who's healthy now.
Like this is what you want. You want I'm not I'm a huge Brooks Koepka fan only because he has that sort of swagger about him that I don't like. But I love the guy as a golfer. I mean, my
Yeah.
gosh, the guy's a phenomenal golfer
Yeah.
and a healthy Brooks Koepka. I mean, there were people that didn't like Tiger because of the same swagger
Right.
back in the day,
Still are.
and now Tiger's different,
Yeah.
maybe humbled a little bit by all the injuries and the things that have gone on in his life, but he was exactly what Brooks Koepka was back in the day. He carried himself on the golf course a certain way. He carried himself off. He thought he was the best, and he was the best.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So get over it.
Yeah.
Phil Mickelson finishing, where he did. Look at
Yeah. He tied
don't
with
don't
Kepka.
don't
They were
think
both at
that Phil
800.
Mickelson's back to being Phil Mickelson that won the PGA or all those things. Phil loves Augusta National.
Yeah.
Loves the golf course. It
Three-time
fits
winner.
his game
Three-time
very,
winner.
very well.
Yeah.
He plays well when he's there mostly all the time. So whether he's played well on Live or anything else over
It's
the
irrelevant.
last year is irrelevant. This is
Yeah.
Augusta National. Some players hey, there's golf courses. I love Loch March. Loch March is one of my very favorite golf courses to play, but I play terrible there all the time.
It doesn't love you back.
It doesn't matter if the course conditions, the weather conditions are ideally suited, and I'm playing amazing golf going into it. I will crap the bed at Loch March every single time, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I love that golf course.
Yeah.
So some golf courses just do not set up well for your game mentally or visually, and that's fine. But the Masters and Augusta National sets up well for Phil. So I'm not surprised at all. Plus,
I agree.
you're coming from that many shots back on Sunday. Where's the pressure?
You got nothing to lose.
It's nothing. You're gonna shoot what you're gonna shoot. Okay. So any other narrative, Scott, that you took out of
I would just
Masters?
my last comment on that was, I look at this event as an isolated thing. I don't look at the stuff that's outside of whatever. I'm just looking at this event, the players that are there, the skills. So everything, all the other drama, as you said, the other narratives or whatever, very manufactured more than anything. So it's just great to watch that overall. Obviously Rahm, gotta mention that. I mean,
love that guy.
4th win of the year, goes back to number 1, gets his 2nd major championship. What's not to like about how he's playing, how determined he is? Obviously got amazing skills. 11 wins now on the tour. Sky's the limit. Of where he's going to go. We're not going to sit here and predict how many more that he can win, but
no, because every time we do, you just end up with egg on your face anyway.
Yeah. So, but let's just say, he's obviously on a bit of a heater. This is how people win, just like Brooks won his 4 majors in a short period of time. So it's just going to be fun to sit back and see where it goes. The cool part too, obviously with Rahm, 4th Spaniard to win. Did it on Seve's 66th birthday. Jose Maria lost the ball there to greet him. Somebody else wasn't, but whatever. But the fact that, he was there, that was great. So, it was fun. I mean, it was a heck of a day. I mean, you were busy cutting trees. I was busy working out my couch. Like a lot of people, there was so much golf to watch on the Sunday that I was just planted, which I don't get a lot of opportunity to do. And it was fun to have that entire day of golf. And, people will know, especially if they were going back and forth with me on Twitter, it was a very active day from a golf perspective.
I did make sure to cut short the tree cutting at around 3:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. So I did see, the majority of the Saturday and Sunday coverage.
Now, a couple weeks ago, we did talk about, we did a little bit of a preview, early Masters chatter, and we talked about the lengthening of the 35 extra yards on the 13th hole. So I want to get your comments on that, of whether, okay, 1, we can talk about the scoring average. 2, how it played out. What are your thoughts of the 13th? And
so not being there and seeing it live makes a big difference as far as how you see them play the hole. Now, until I saw the statistics that you showed, I didn't really pay any attention to it. I didn't see any difference whatsoever in how the players played the hole. I didn't see, to me, it didn't seem like, it didn't seem a lot different. Like it did, and I don't, until I saw the numbers, this is what I is not what I would have predicted would have happened. But I mean, it tells you a lot, I guess.
So I should get the average approach distance, which obviously was a lot longer. Players were just getting to the corner, slightly getting it around. Maybe saw a couple golfers kind of in the 190 range with the ones that hit the furthest around the corner. It was kind of a 50% sort of layup in a lot of cases as far as players going for it and not going for it. But we will say it averaged 4.7384, so 4.74. All-time average was 4.77 on that hole. And in 2022, it averaged 4.85. So the lengthening maybe changed how players play it, but it actually, the scoring average was pretty much the same or slightly even less. More because we had players not challenging it, laying up and then just hitting a wedge on,
Well,
not getting themselves in trouble. But we certainly didn't see a lot of eagles.
Well, the other thing, and here's the thing with the 13th, and this is my own opinion. The thing about 13 and 15 in particular is I want eagles on 13 and 15. Sure. I want them going. That's where the drama of the back nine, when you lengthen it to the point where you take the eagle out of play, and you put the birdie possible, all you're doing is taking the back nine drama of Augusta National away. Now, what I will say is on 13, because they weren't hitting it as far down and around the corner, the other thing that they took out of play was the pine straw and the trees up to the right-hand side, which is where a lot of guys would end up. And then, I mean, you remember Phil Mickelson's shot years ago out of the pine straw onto the green. That shot's gone because nobody's driving it up there anymore because of the length. Yeah. So guys would hit 3-wood off the tee so they could shape it on that hole, and they would still, the 3-wood would still get to the corner if they double crossed and ended up hitting a cut instead of a draw. So to me, what they've done is they've taken a hole and they've made it harder. They've kept the scoring average relatively similar, but they've taken the drama out of what the back nine at Augusta National is all about. The back nine starts, the tournament starts on the back nine. 11, 12, 13, 14 is stuck in the middle, 15, 16. That's where it's happening. You take the Eagles out, you take and play the course the way it is now, and Jack Nicklaus doesn't maybe have that dramatic comeback.
Well, his 30 on the back nine, Phil's 30 on the back nine, those were ones that led them to victory. It's much harder to do that now. So I guess it comes down to this: do fans want to be entertained by players going low, right, and making the difference, or do the people who, the members of the club, want to watch players implode and people win that way? So,
how much implosion was happening?
Not much.
Francesco Molinari.
Yeah, I mean, that
did he not lay sod on with a wedge after laying
15, up? But he was over the left side. So I don't think, for me, I didn't find 13 that compelling. Whereas I'd always find it compelling when players would really try to be aggressive and work their way around that corner to try and get a shorter club in there to give themselves the opportunity. It put the pressure on every single shot. Yeah. I just didn't feel there was as much pressure on the tee shot, because I knew a lot of players would obviously think, okay, you know what? I'm going to lay up anyways, because where I'm going to hit it from a landing perspective, that golf ball is going to be way above my feet. I'm probably not going to go for it anyways because the lie's not great. And, you just see some pedestrian stuff. So it was
just another par five. I mean, that's the thing. It's just another long par five when you start. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, it's a no for me, dog. It's a no for me.
It's a no for me. It's not going to get my buzzer.
No,
but I'm not going to give it a strike. But it's definitely not. It's not a green light to me.
Well, here's the thing. What happens?
Close the back tee off. Don't open it ever again.
Yeah. Well, I was really hoping, and a bunch of people were, that they would have pushed things forward for the fourth round.
Absolutely, I would have done that 100%. You know what? You want to have the tee in play for Friday or Thursday and Friday.
Yeah,
and maybe even on Saturday. Fine. Yeah, I'm cool with that. You want to do that, but on Sunday afternoon at the Masters, I want to see drama. I want to see birdies. I want to see eagle putts. And if you're making your golf course so damn hard that you're taking that aspect of 13 and 15 out of play, 13 in this case, but if you're taking it out of play, then you're changing the dynamic of the Masters, because that's for years and years, that's what the Masters has been all about, is the back nine on Sunday.
I want to hear cheers, not groans.
Oh yeah, like no I want to hear splooshes, but I want to hear it because some guy's going for it or spins it. You know, back in the old days, and we got to get out for a break here in a minute, but I remember back in the old days before they had rough. You know, and guys on 12 and or 11 would or sorry, 12
par 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry, thinking 11, where they would hit the ball to the left side of the green there, and they would spin it off the front of the green down into the water. Well, now because there's rough there, they still spin it off the green, but it can get hung up on the rough.
Yeah.
You know, if it used to be shaved right down all the way around, there was no rough. It was fairway, pine straw, green, tee. That was it. That was awesome. You know, watching guys spin it off the fronts of greens and stuff like that. So there's a situation where they made the golf course easier. Okay, we got less than a minute. We got to get out for a break. When we come back, we're going to play the interview that you did with Cleveland Golf's product manager, Casey Shultz. And then we're just going to wrap it all up. So stay with us. We'll be right back here on the Flagstick podcast.
When you golf on Prince Edward Island, there are over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine. Not to mention countless miles of pristine beaches and a rich world-class culinary experience. So get here fast, then take it slow and play around on Island Time. Golf Prince Edward Island.
All right, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. This is Scott McLeod, and great front nine, Scotty Mack. Great front nine. Good Masters talk. We could go a lot deeper into the discussion on the Masters and some of the other drama that surrounds it, but it's time we move forward from this. And
unfortunately,
let's just as a golfing public, let's just focus on watching some great golf,
playing some golf.
Yeah, playing some golf. I mean, it's we're getting there. We're getting close. We're getting very close.
Yeah. You want to come down? We can get a tee time for
when I
tomorrow?
get a shoulder. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. I don't think I could hit a wedge 10 yards right now.
Perfect.
I haven't tried. I don't want to.
Good time for a match.
How is it a good time for a match? You're gonna beat me when you're having shoulder problems. How the hell am I gonna beat you anyway? All right.
All good.
We're here on the Flagstick podcast. We're the back nine. We're jumping into the back nine now. Presented this week by Golf Sim Gurus. Work on your game year-round, with or without a bad shoulder, in the privacy of your own home. Custom golf simulator setups built to your specs to fit your budget. Visit golfsimgurus.ca to learn more. Now, we're going to jump into this interview. This was done. You did an interview with product manager from Cleveland Golf, Casey Shultz. It was a bit of a discussion about the new Cleveland RTX 6 wedges. But why don't you set this interview up, and then we'll do the interview, and then bring it back.
Yeah, not a lot to add there, really. Met Casey a few years back, and obviously very passionate about the products that they make there at Cleveland Golf, Srixon as well. But in this, we actually focused, solely on the RTX 6 wedges. Wedges can be wedges to a lot of people, but there's a lot that go into wedges these days. In fact, it's a segment of the golf bag that a lot of people don't pay enough attention to. And I think what you're going to see is that when you hear Casey talk, you're going to hear about a lot of the technologies and a lot of the work that they're doing on these wedges to make it better so that they can really help a golfer out with their performance. And so it's just not a hunk of metal anymore. There's a lot more to it. And Casey gives great insight on what they're doing at Cleveland Golf, which obviously, has been a strong name in wedges for a long, long time.
Awesome. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the interview that you did with Casey. So here's Scott McLeod, our Scott McLeod, with Casey Shultz, product manager from Cleveland Golf, talking about the RTX 6 wedges. Listen to this.
All right, special guest here joining us today. We've got Casey Shultz, who's the product manager for Cleveland Golf, Srixon and Zexio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
You guys have got a lot of great products happening this year. In fact, it's pretty hard to kind of pin down just a few to sort of focus on. But you guys have built some really cool franchises, and you've extended those, and we're seeing that more and more. And obviously, that consumers are appreciating the fact that you guys are adding more features, creating more design, better engineering within some of the clubs, and offering different options as well. Let's kind of start with the RTX 6 ZipCore wedges, which have been dominant for you guys for quite some time, but this year they're actually getting even better, not only just from a look perspective, but a lot more technology embedded in there. Why don't you kind of take us through some of the big additions? Maybe talk a little bit about HydroZip, for example, and some of the other features that we see in those wedges.
Yeah, absolutely. So each generation with the RTX line, we try to add new technologies. It's our hero line, and where you really try to introduce what's on the cutting edge and what we can really think about performance-wise to improve the product. So this time, the hero is the HydroZip technology. We really took wet conditions into play and wanted to create a design that, with a blast and a laser line, actually maximizes spin consistency, basically wherever you're going to find yourself. We've got a lot of other technologies in here that'll help out other conditions. UltiZip in the past is really designed specifically for rough. But this time around, we're seeing up to a 43% increase in spin in wet conditions in certain lofts. So it's really seeing that benefit of that one hop stop performance. You know what you're going to get no matter where you find yourself, whether you're playing in the dew and a little bit of rain, out of the rough, out of the sand. All the technology we put into the wedge face is really designed to create consistency for a player who just wants to know what to expect out of a wedge. One other thing we're seeing too with the HydroZip technology is an actual reduction of glare at address. A lot of better players are going to like to find that. So we've gotten a lot of feedback early on that that's actually another huge benefit with that blast and laser line pattern as well.
I think we're kind of making an assumption a little bit that people are familiar with ZipCore as far as the technology and what it's about as far as that mask placement. Can you explain that a little bit? Because consumers, if they just look at the wedges on the shelf, they're not going to see that. It's a kind of a hidden technology. But can you explain how it might help a golfer?
For sure, yeah. In the RTX line especially, we're really proud about how we've been able to increase the amount of technology and innovation in these wedges while maintaining this very traditional looking blade appearance. So you're not going to see a lot of this forgiveness and stuff that's being added, but the low density material in the hosel, which we've increased by almost 100% over the last generation, really adds a lot of MOI and forgiveness that's really tastefully added to the wedge. In a still, blade looking appearance, but overall figures and consistency that you're going to find even over last generation. A lot more tighter dispersion we're seeing on off center strikes. And for a blade wedge, you're still going to be getting a lot of forgiveness.
And one of the things that's probably important for a lot of better players or players that are looking for kind of really defined features for fitting wise are things like the grinds. And you guys have expanded that a little bit this year and created even more options than in the past.
For sure. Yeah, we've added the new low plus this time around to go along with our low, mid, and our full. So the low plus is really based on tour feedback. A lot of our tour players weren't going into a low grind in their sand wedges because it just didn't have quite enough bounce. So we took that feedback, added a couple degrees, and then threw that in our 54 and 56 this time around, keeping the low in the 58 and 60 to add a little bit more variety and options there. For those who really want a truly tour authentic experience, we also have the tour rack finish again, which will have tour crafted leading edges and tour crafted sole grinds to really fine tune that performance in a way that's not really offered by too many other companies. It's like having a tour trailer or a tour truck at your disposal if you go through that program. So we're really excited to see, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback over the last couple of years of players really taking that opportunity to fine tune performance exactly how they want it.
And speaking of fine tuning, I mean, if we look at the groupings as far as the lofts, there are some variations within the wedges, especially when we look at things like grooves, for an example, because, grooves are obviously important for what they do. But, in different lofts and different clubs that are performing different tasks, it's maybe important to have some variance in that. And you guys have managed to do that.
Yeah, so with the HydroZip technology, we've really made it so that the different blast ranges have different performance levels. So the 46 through 48 is a little bit of a lighter blast than the 50 through 52 and the 54 through 60. So our engineers have taken all of those conditions into account, basically what you're going to need roughness wise on each loft to maximize that consistency. You don't want to be overspinning 46 through 48s and getting some weird distance performance there. So we've really taken all of that into account, as well as the strike types that you're going to be able to find in different lofts and different grinds. So we've actually rounded the leading edges a bit of our fulls this time around, and our mids, and then our lows are still a very sharp leading edge to sort of target the type of player that's going to be using each of those and the different lofts. So kind of taking the, performance a player is looking for in every single loft, every single grind into the entire design of the product.
Now, stretching a little further, as you said, lots of different golfers, lots of different needs. And I think that's where the CBX line really stands out. And I don't think consumers really pay attention to it enough. And I remember when the first CBX wedges came out, and I remember taking it to the range, and I found a golfer who had a hard time controlling their low point. They were kind of all over the place. And I'm like, here, try this wedge design out. And at first he's like, ooh, he looks at the back of it and he's like, maybe not as traditional. But then he sits it down and he's like, that looks traditional. And then obviously all of a sudden he sees how it performs. CBX, it's providing a different type of wedge, as we said, but you also have a full face 2 model that's in that. Why don't you explain the attributes of that CBX model and the full face 2 and how they can benefit golfers?
For sure. I mean, the CBX line is based mainly around forgiveness. We have very versatile soles as well, so you've got a little bit of that action and can still open the face a bit and maneuver a little bit more than some wedges out there. But it's mainly designed for a player who wants to avoid chunking the ball, wants to get the most consistent contact that's probably not striking the ball as much in the dead center of the face. That's really what the line is designed for. So the CBX ZipCore is our more traditional looking wedge. Like you mentioned, if you put it at address, it's not going to be too polarizing. It's going to look more like you're used to, but you're still going to get all of those forgiveness benefits with the ZipCore built in, with that hollow cavity design, really putting the center of gravity close to the center, as well as just a massive amount of MOI in those wedges to really perform like you're used to in a cavity back iron. It's a really smooth transition for those players into their wedges and beyond. So the new one is the CBX Full Face 2. We've gone a little bit larger in the profile this time around to really maximize that forgiveness. And we understand that that's a player that might be striking all over the face a little bit more often. So all the way down to the 50-degree loft that is offered this time around, to really give your player some options. We're expecting a lot of combo sets between CBX ZipCore and CBX Full Face 2. Wherever a player wants to transition into that full face groove, they're going to have that option. So featuring a lot of the same technology as the RTX 6 ZipCore. So you're still getting Hydra Zip, you're still getting multi-zip grooves, you're still getting ZipCore in the CBX Full Face 2 as well.
Yeah, and you've got that option now with that C-shaped sole, which has been popular for you guys and other products, and obviously is very beneficial to this, this category of golfer for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It allows you to open the face a little bit for that, flop shot or whatnot this player might want to play. But we're also really designing these for square face shots as well, with the new leading edge bounce chamfer added to this generation. That should reduce digging a little bit on chips around the green and overall help players get more consistently and honestly lay the sod a little bit less often. A good thing for all of these players.
Yeah, for sure. And if they happen to do that and they get on the green, but maybe they're a little while away, we've got a little something extra now for Cleveland in the putter category. Now, I will say, Cleveland has obviously carved out themselves a nice space in the putter realm here. Going back to, the Huntington Beach introduction, the Huntington Beach Soft. Then we had the front line. Now we have the front line elite, which kind of takes things to a whole new level for you guys, which is cool to see because, like I said, you've sort of built this little kind of quiet cult following, and people are going, hey, you know what? These guys are, playing around now in the premium market, but you're also doing it with some neat technology as well. Why don't we talk a little bit about the mass forward design and, that tungsten soft face as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Frontline Elite, we've been joking about a lot internally. Like, we threw the whole kitchen sink of this thing. I could talk about the technology in this putter for ages. It's by far the most we've ever thrown in, but the hero truly is the tungsten speed optimized face technology. I mean, talking about the putter, the first question I ask people is, have you ever contacted the ball with tungsten? I don't think pretty much anybody has. So it's a brand new technology.
Not unless they missed on the heel and toe with some other product.
Last generation. That's true. I haven't heard that. That's a good point. I probably have. But yes, it's the real most amount of tungsten we could possibly throw forward is making the face itself that weight to move the CG forward and overall create increased consistency and accuracy on all strikes. So it's their speed optimized face technology is based on the milling of it. So heel and toe strikes will go the same distance as a center strike. It's the design there, along with the forward CG will really increase that accuracy. So the forward CG has kind of been a trendy thing in the market after we introduced it in the original Frontline. However, the trade-off with that is generally that you're going to be losing that MOI benefit of a consistent distance. So with the speed optimized face technology covering our bases for that aspect, getting the forward CG benefit of accuracy, it's really the best of both worlds and a combination that's not offered in any competitor model either.
I think it was kind of funny because when I heard that there was 30 grams of tungsten, I started to look in the heel and the toe, and I'm like, where's the tungsten? And then looked in the, and then realized that when I sort of saw the separated graphic of all the multi-material, because there is a lot of materials that are in these putter designs, especially when you look at the mallets, the fact that the tungsten was the insert. So that was kind of genius more than anything.
Yeah, no, it's really unique. And I mean, we went through a lot of testing to make sure it feels good, and the milling pattern and everything worked out well. And we're thrilled with how it ended up. And, it's a brand new technology to have tungsten in a hitting area. First time it's really been done.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of materials that are in there, but it's not just cobbled together. I mean, you guys have done a really nice job as far as the how it all fits together, the finish of it, the look at it of it. It's super premium as far as you look at it in a putter. This is not something that people are going to go, Cleveland's getting into putters, they shouldn't play around in the high end stuff. As soon as people see these in person, I'm sure they're going to be shocked.
Oh yeah, we've taken the time to make sure we did everything right. There's a new finishing over the last generation that's a little bit more premium, multi-material designs where you've got these full-bodied mallets with multiple parts coming together overall. We've got adjustable sole weights as well that actually stock will change by length for a consistent swing feel. So no matter what length you end up purchasing, it'll be designed as our engineers intended. And we've also got the exciting new UST all-in shaft offering,
yes, that's
right. Charge, which has gotten a ton of buzz for us early. And to be able to get such a premium stability shaft for, $299 is our price point there. At least in the US, that's a bargain for most players.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really curious to see where you guys are going next. I don't expect for you to divulge that to me today, but great product line. Kudos to you guys for getting this done. Excited to see how consumers kind of start testing some of these products and get their reaction to them. But thanks for spending some time with us today and talking about the new lines from Cleveland Golf.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Scott.
All right. Great interview. I mean, I say that after every interview they do because they're all great interviews. They're all great. They're all great interviews. This is a great podcast. There's no podcast better.
Yeah, they're fun to do. Too, I mean, but... as well as I, I've been an equipment geek for a long time. It's been good to know and get to know a lot of these people that are behind the scenes at the companies, right? I mean, a lot of people are usually exposed to people that do marketing for companies, but the people that are behind it, that actually create the products that are really there to make innovations. It's nice to be able to talk to them and really get the skinny on the product. So thank you to Casey for that.
Sometimes the R&D guys don't necessarily agree with how the marketing guys portray the product. That's why they're behind the scenes. If you let the R&D guys get out in the forefront in a lot of cases, you might learn something about the product that you don't want to learn. But in this case, it's like what you're learning about a product like the RTX wedge, which has been around for a while, and Cleveland wedges. I mean, my first wedges were Cleveland 588s. That was my first. Yours were 485s?
88. Yeah. I had 485s. Yeah. I think I still might have a 485 around here someplace.
Like they've changed a lot, but the bottom line is that's how long a company like Cleveland has been around making wedges. So to learn from the guys that are, developing and making these products. That's super important.
As you mentioned, it's fun talking to the engineers, but they also recognize and understand that, the information that they have has to be digestible for the consumer. Has to be done in a little bit more of an elevator pitch situation. So they respect that the marketing people have to do that, but obviously, they get frustrated because they're like, man, these are my babies. I did a lot of work on this. There's a lot of different things. How do you get those points
the fourth axis turns to the crosses here for the center point of the centrifugal.
how do you get those points out there and to let
Exactly.
people know how important? But you know, as I talked about with Casey, I mean, this is an area of the golf bag that is definitely neglected by a lot of people. And it was actually part of our Ask Flagstick this week. People, somebody was asking about choosing wedges, and you know,
There you go.
I made the point with them is that, you know, just don't wander into the store and grab 3 lofts and away you go. There's a lot more to it than that.
Well, you
And
gotta actually know the clubs that you gotta know the irons that you're playing too to
yeah,
determine what those gaps should be. I mean, how many times back in the day, you know, where we're trying to figure out, okay, what gap do I want? Well,
right,
when you determine that your pitching wedge later on, like in the old days, your pitching wedge was 50 degrees,
right, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. And then it went to
48 became a
48,
standard.
and now it's like 46, 45. You
Yeah,
get
so now
43.
you,
Yeah,
you have a set of clubs that has a pitching wedge, and the pitching wedge is like 44, 45 degrees, and then you
yeah,
go and you put a 56-degree wedge in for your
right.
wedge. It's like,
Got
well,
a massive gap.
that gap is
Yeah,
too big.
yeah,
Nowadays, the old days, that gap, you would have a 52 was your gap wedge
yeah,
because your pitching wedge was 47, 48, and
right.
your sand wedge was 56,
Yeah,
55. So
yeah.
50-degree or 52-degree wedge was the gap wedge. 52 degrees isn't a gap wedge in most sets of clubs now. That's like a gap wedge. Like
Yeah, and
you almost, if you want to have the same makeup that you used to have, you almost need to have a pitching wedge at 45, and then you have to have a 50,
well, they
a
get
40,
approach
a 49.
wedges. You get approach wedges, gap wedges, whatever. And I mean, and that's just the start of it, people. I mean, gapping is one thing, but you got to remember these are tools, and they have to suit how you use them. They have to suit, you know, the turf conditions that you play on, the shots you like to play. There's a lot to it. So, you know, talk to your local fitter, talk to your pro, talk to your coach, you know, get this input, and that all goes into it as far as selecting the wedges. And the nice part is now, as you'll see in that RTX6 family, for an example, or, you know, any you know, reliable wedge company, they make a lot of options now for bounces and soul shapes
Yeah,
and lofts and
exactly.
stuff like that. So
We used to grind those ourselves.
yeah, back in the day.
On the
So
old grinder, bench grinder upstairs at the store. Used to take grinding the leading edge down, sharpen that bad boy up a little bit, get the 156-degree wedge, and then it's like, okay, I need a lob wedge. No, you don't. Just open that bad boy up. No, I need a gap wedge. No, you don't. Hood it and go get it. No problem. One wedge solves the whole world. Does not.
No, it
You
doesn't.
have to have a set.
Lots of great options now. So take the time to have a look at those, and you know, the RTX is one of the options that are out there.
Beautiful. Okay. Before we get out, I just want to bring up one more Masters point because it's kind of relevant as we start the season. There's been a lot of chatter around social media about slow play. And there's been some back and forth. You know, Koepka brought it up. Cantley, you know, sort of came back. Cantley's group was terribly slow. So the whole concept, you watched the Masters, I saw the highlights. It wasn't that he was waiting for every group. He was slow. I've seen video of him hitting him like that. Like, as you enter into the season this year, I only bring this up for this point. As we enter into the golf season, play with some pace, people. Play with some pace. Keep yourself moving. If you take that long to hit a ball, just think of how you would feel if you were behind you.
Yeah.
And every single shot that you hit took that long to hit. Like, that's a long time to hit shots. I know it's the Masters. I know it's a major and everything, but come on.
Yeah,
enough is enough.
People have to take it out of context, you know, and they can't look at how players on the tour go about doing things. Slow play is slow play on the tour. You'll see it in pro-ams. You see it in every aspect of it. They're playing way different. And this is not an excuse for Cantley. This is just saying in general, they're playing for millions of dollars. The golf courses are on razor edge. There's a lot more decisions that have to be made or whatever. That doesn't have to be the case for you at your home local club.
No.
Don't copy it and think that just because you play slowly, you'll play better. And in fact, a lot of people, if they just play a little bit more instinctively, make their decisions, find different ways to make their decisions before they stand over top of the golf ball, they'll have, you know, better results and they'll enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, there you go. So pace of play. There's your focal point as we enter into the season. try to play golf at a reasonable pace. 4 hours is a decent time. The Flagstick Open regularly is an average of 4 hours or less.
Yeah.
For tournament golf, for players at both high indexes and low indexes. So don't tell me that tournament golf means slower play, because it doesn't. Slower play is slower play. Yeah. So figure it out. Don't make people upset. Okay.
You're gonna get out and try and play soon eventually once you're healthy, or
as soon as the shoulder is as soon as the shoulder is good enough to actually hit a golf ball, then I'm gonna get out and start hitting some balls at the range to start with. Probably head over to Mer Bleu. I like the Mer Bleu driving range. Maybe over to Target because it's closer, but Mer Bleu. Anderson Links driving range just opened up, so
it is. Emerald Links driving range is open as well.
Venture over there. There's a lot of range. Kevin Haim, I've been out there a couple of times, not hitting balls, but just discussing things with Kevin.
Sure.
Super busy, man. Holy crap.
I'm gonna
super busy.
I'm gonna wander over to Garrison, I think, right after this. Our range is open over there just to kind of check it out, see how many people are, maybe take a little bit of footage or whatever like that. But I'm expecting, based on the fact that it's 13 going to 18, and we're one of the cooler parts of the province, it's probably going to be fairly busy. So it's great to see. A lot of people are really, really excited, and keep hitting that calendar and keep checking up on those opening dates.
Exactly, because soon the calendar will be gone, and that means we're in golf full swing.
Got it.
Okay, well, great show, Scotty Mac, as always. It is good to be back, and hopefully we keep the momentum going here next week. But for this week, we're done. We are done. Thanks to our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Golf Sim Gurus, our presenting sponsor again this week, Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island has premier Canadian golf destination, boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in this wonderful country of ours. With over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tiered accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences, it is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Book your golf vacations and tee times at golfpei.ca. Now, hopefully, and I'm sure you are enjoying everything you're watching and hearing here on the Flagstick Podcast with us. Be sure to follow us across social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode of the Flagstick Podcast. Contests and other little content tidbits coming up all season long. So get over there. Head to flagstick.com if you haven't already, but how could you not have? But go to flagstick.com for even more amazing golf content delivered every single day. Every day. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I am Jeff Potter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.